This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome back to the Fan Report Show, made by fans for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick. Sitting right across from me is my boy Andrew, who's going to give us this week's topics.
All the moves happening around the NBA, most recently Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to the Clippers. The league has found itself with a level of parity not seen in at least a decade. Is it time for the Pistons to take advantage of this and make a splash in the trade market?
All right. So obviously that is the big question. It's kind of become the hot button topic all through the Twitter spheres. Well, honestly, no. The hot button topic is Russell Westbrook. Okay, that's kind of what's led us into this conversation. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. I don't feel that there's any actual legitimacy in the Pistons being involved in Russell Westbrook as of right now. Are there potentially phone calls being made? Sure. But until I see an actual report come out from an actual legitimate media, national media source, not a local one, not Chris Broussard or Chris Mortensen or whoever or Colin Cowherd, an actual legitimate national media source, and by that I'm saying Adrian Wojnarowski or Shams. I'm not a believer in that. Will I play around with the idea? Sure, but I'm not a believer until I actually see it from somebody who's legitimately in the know. You'd be right along the lines with Vince Ellison. He's the one that says that's been come out saying that he thinks it's nothing more than just a phone call being more on proportion kind of thing. I think that there's 29 teams in the league that have at least called the Thunder on Russell Westbrook. Okay, maybe like 28. I doubt the Lakers have. Actually, you know what? The Lakers probably have. They just have no way of doing it.
You know what I think would actually be a team that could offer that could potentially be in the running that people aren't talking about, and just in terms of cap room and what they can offer is the Knicks. I mean, the Knicks are sitting here looking, I think, desperate almost now to make a big splash. They have a shit ton of cap room they didn't end up using. Well, they used some of it, but I believe they still have room to sign a max player, and I would imagine so. I mean, they did throw a lot of money at some mid-level players. And they have not been shy about the fact that in the market for a point guard.
Right. Well, so obviously, but
that's just me talking. It hasn't been reported.
Right. No, right. With that being said, though, obviously we're gonna be kind of spinning this in a Russell Westbrook sense because that is the hot button name. That is the name on the trade market right now. I'm not saying trade block because I don't think the Thunder have already said that they're trying to get rid of him. I think he's just available. So we'll spin this in that direction. But because he is the hot button name on Twitter, he is the hot button name in the media. So we'll look at it that way, but I do want to kind of focus on the bulk of what our topic is tonight because of what the Clippers have done, because of what the Lakers have done, because of what what Philly's done with bringing in Al Horford and Josh Richardson, trading Jimmy Butler, because of what the Heat have done grabbing Jimmy Butler, because of what the Celtics have done grabbing Kemba. Does this force the Pistons' hand or give reason to force their hand to bring in another star to play alongside Blake Griffin to try to go for it now, while the Warriors dynasty is effectively over? No Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant's gone. They've got two players on that team with Steph and Draymond.
And D'Angelo Russell.
And D'Lo, yes.
Rumors are that they're probably going to be trading him, but we'll see what happens with that.
Not if, but when.
Yeah.
Yes. Could mean after this year, when Klay gets back.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, though, that's kind of what I want to focus on. Do you want the Pistons to force their hand and go after it in a year that is probably going to have the most parity that we've seen in the NBA in over a decade? Actually, probably longer. This is the first time we'll have seen a non-super team win anything since the Spurs.
I mean, are there any teams you could technically call? I mean, there's teams with two superstars.
I don't think there's a legitimate. No, there is not a legitimate super team in today's NBA. There is no three superstar team, 3-star team.
Yeah.
The last super team was the Warriors. They're done. And honestly, in today's NBA, I think this may be the beginning of the 2-star teams moving forward. I think this is something we're going to see moving forward because, frankly, I do too. But it's also just the way that the contracts have become for stars in this league.
Yeah.
It's far too expensive to field a super team in today's NBA. The Warriors last year proved that. They had nothing, and I mean nothing, around their big four. Nothing. And what happened? When two of them went down, they lost.
Yeah.
You can't build
Eventually,
a super
three
team.
of them went down.
Right. But you can't really build a super team in today's NBA because of the cost of the contract. If you're going to give these guys their fair market value and they're going to take that fair market value, you're not building a super team if you want to fill the roster around it. So yes, I do think the 2-star teams are the way of the future.
Yeah. And I will say it makes 2K a lot more fun this coming year.
It does.
I'm going to actually get 2K again. Just because there's more teams will be fun to play
Legends
with.
Edition?
Oh my, dude, that cover.
That cover's unbelievable. That, honestly, God, I think is my favorite sports video game cover ever.
I'm honestly considering getting Legends
Spending
Edition.
the extra
just
$30 for it, yeah. But anyway, so that's where I want to kind of spend the bulk of the conversation on it. But Andrew, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, do you think the Pistons are involved in Russell Westbrook?
Do I think they're involved? So I feel that there's been a lot of buzz going around.
But from who? Like, what sources are giving this buzz?
So the big name sources, and then there's a lot of small sources feeding off it, but the big sources are The Athletic and Forbes.
And who's the Athletic source?
Sam Amick is the Athletic source, and Duncan Jones is the Forbes source.
And I'm pretty sure both these guys don't have any in the know. These guys are also the same type of people that are throwing out multiple possible such situations.
Are the Pistons like one of the top destinations? That's where I struggle because I'm not seeing much support for it on the Pistons end as far as the Pistons front office or players. No one's really talking about it. This is more being reported by other media. And
now, see, that's where I say where I say they're more dangerous in this is when they're not talking about it.
And with the fact that we've heard this. I mean, the Thunder have been notoriously. I don't want to say close-minded, but close to the chest with Russell Westbrook in terms of not wanting to
that's
ever
their
get rid of
superstar.
him. The fact that now, after the Paul George trade and everything, now we're finally getting reports that now they're finally okay with, like, they're fielding offers, they're okay with taking phone calls. I think it's definite possibility the Pistons could have called in and inquired about it.
But I also think that's true with 28 other teams as well.
But what could have happened here is maybe the Pistons were one of the first teams to call about it, and that's what's getting called as a front runner, because I'm finding it very hard to see what the Pistons could offer that would make them a front runner for the Thunder.
I don't think they really have the assets to do it, because you're looking at a guy who's making $39 million this year, $44 next year. His contract is unbelievable. I'll give you the exact numbers here in a second.
And that leads me to the Heat, too. The Heat are Westbrook's preferred destination, but I really do feel that's all they're going for them, because they do not really have much to offer either. They don't have draft capital to offer.
I mean, with the way the draft capital is going now, they could just give up future first-round picks, because everybody's loving throwing out the future first-round pick.
Yeah, but they're at least for the near future, they are. I think OKC already holds two of them.
So 2019, 2020 is 38.5. 2020, 2021 is 41.5. 2021, 22 is 44. 2022, 2023 is $47 million player option.
Yeah. So if you were to do this, would it make you a top 3-4 team in the East? Sure. But
if Paul George and Russell Westbrook don't make the Thunder a top 4 team in the West together, what makes you think that'll make the Pistons top 3-4 team in the East?
Because the East versus the West.
Okay, but hold on there, Andrew, because if you after the first couple of teams in the West, really wasn't that different. And frankly, the best team in the NBA last year in terms of the regular season was in the East.
Let's take a look at the East. I think the
top 4 teams were even.
I know. I'm saying let's take a look at the East real quick. I think for sure the Bucks are better than you. I think for sure the Sixers are still better than you. And then I think you're in the same class as the Celtics, Pacers, and you. I think that's your class. So that's why I said you could be 3, you could be down to 6, depending on how you handle it. But that's your range. Your peak, I think, is 3rd seed.
I'll agree with that. But, I think peak is 3rd seed.
That's what I'm saying.
And that's if you stay healthy.
Yeah. So, But when you look at the amount of money tied in and how long you'd be tied to these players for, and
you got Blake
and the
for
fact
at least
that I
3 more
legitimately
years.
don't think this is a championship team with Russell Westbrook, that's what makes me hesitant to say
If-
I would actually want the Pistons.
If they're not a
to try to do this.
championship team with Paul George and Russell Westbrook,
Yeah.
they're not a
That's what I'm
championship
saying.
team with Blake Griffin and Russell Westbrook.
So that's what makes me hesitate to say that I would want the Pistons to do this. But when talking about the actual parity in the league, there is a window open now for the Pistons to make a play.
100%.
It doesn't have to be this year, though.
See, I don't know. Because, I'm going to disagree with you there. I am going to disagree
For
with
example,
you there.
this trade deadline, Reggie all of a sudden becomes very attractive. You don't have to do it right now. Reggie all of a
but
sudden
again,
becomes
no
very
matter
attractive.
what you do,
Next year,
80,
Andre
you have to
suddenly
be
becomes
within
very
100. The
attractive.
money you get back for Reggie has to be within 125% of them.
Yeah.
So no matter what, if you're going to go for it at the deadline, trading Reggie Jackson, you're going to have to go into the luxury tax to do it. Or
Which
you're going to
Tom
have to
Gorsuch
drop
said, as
money.
long as it brings him a superstar, he's willing to do that.
I'll believe it when I
Tom
see
Gorsuch
it.
like the billionaire.
I will believe that when I see it, Andrew,
Okay.
because we have yet to really see him be willing to give up certain things on in more so personnel than anything. We've yet to see him really play ball here. Let's be honest. First time we've seen him play ball was Blake Griffin. He's refusing to do it otherwise.
Well, he doesn't want to trade Drummond. That's his big thing. He
didn't want to trade Reggie either.
I don't think I ever heard him deny Reggie's trade.
He didn't want to trade Reggie. He's been the guy who's been adamant about continuing with this core. He has been the guy that's adamant about this core. So, is he willing to play ball? That's a different story.
I mean, I don't think a Reggie trade is much of a possibility until now. This offseason is the first.
I'm going to disagree. I just don't
contract.
think the
He's
front
been
office.
hurt.
I'm going to disagree. I think the Reggie trade has been a possibility for a couple of years now. However, I don't think the value of return has been enough for the Pistons to pull the trigger.
Oh yeah, I'm taking a legitimate Reggie trade. Like we're going to actually get something.
Reggie
for
as
him.
a player doesn't have value. Doesn't have much value to another team. It's the contract
exactly.
now.
And
That's where the value's
especially
at.
with him having been injured for like a year and a half, that doesn't help. So.
Right. Well, he did have his first healthy season last year in a long time.
Yeah, but I'm saying before when they were reportedly exploring
Now,
other trades.
What do you think it would take the Pistons? It would take for the Pistons to grab Russell Westbrook.
You're going to need.
Don't give me any sources.
You're going to need to give up Reggie. And
Yes, absolutely,
You're
for
going to
money
need to get the
reasons.
contracts match. You need to give him draft capital because that's the advantage you have over a team like the Heat is draft capital. So I think the key word for the Pistons to get him is going to be draft capital. It's just what are they competing with? What
Do
kind
you
of
think
draft
the
capital
Thunder
are they competing
even
with?
want more draft capital after
I
the
mean-
17 first round picks they have?
like 3 first-round picks in draft the next 4 drafts.
Yeah, I know. That's a joke. Of course, they want more draft capital because that can always mean that they're going to move up to number one.
I did see it.
two.
I did see a take from a Heat fan on Twitter earlier. He was saying that the Thunder don't want draft picks. He's like, why would a team like the Thunder, who's trying to win now, want draft picks? I'm like, they're not.
If they're trying to win
they're
now,
not
they wouldn't
trying
be
to win
exactly.
now.
If they're trying to win now, they wouldn't have traded Paul George.
Because like it was a Pistons fan and a Heat fan arguing about like who's going to get Russell Westbrook.
If they were trying to win now, they wouldn't have traded Russell or Paul George.
Yeah, I agree.
The,
I agree
the
100%.
Thunder are effectively done.
Yeah, I agree.
Even
This
with
is a
Russell,
rebuild.
even if they don't end up trading Russell Westbrook, they're done. Granted, if I'm Russell Westbrook, this is exactly the situation I wanted. I want to shoot the ball 50 times a game. Well, guess what? Now I have to.
Well,
now I have
nothing
to.
has stopped them from doing that before.
Right. But now I have a reason to.
Honestly, if I'm Russell Westbrook, I mean, you've been in the Thunder with the Thunder for 11 years. I kind of want to win a championship at this point. You've been stuck in Oklahoma for 11 years.
Hey, here's a little hint. You're not winning a championship with Russell Westbrook. That's why James Harden won't ever win a championship.
Well, tell that to Russell Westbrook, though, because I bet you he doesn't believe that. He still wants to try to win a championship.
He's wrong. Because frankly, a guy who shoots the ball at a 38% clip, shoots 45 times a game, you ain't winning with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, but you're not. Secondly, personally, what I think it's going to take to get Russell Westbrook, and obviously you're going to have to make contracts match. The 3 names I've seen that'll make it work in terms of contracts matching, Reggie Jackson, obviously, Tony Snell, and you have to throw in someone like a Luke Kennard or a Bruce Brown or someone of that
As
sort.
soon as you mention Kennard and Doumbouya, I draw the line right there.
I don't think
Trade
you're
our
getting
young
him
guys.
without Luke Kennard being involved. I'll tell you that right now. That was the first. If that's what it would have taken to get anybody else, to get Mike Conley, you're gonna have to include him in a Russell Westbrook trade.
And for me, that's the line. That's
Then you ain't getting Russell
if I'm
Westbrook.
getting Russell Westbrook,
Do you really value
for-
Luke Kennard over Russell
no,
Westbrook?
I think it's already punishment enough paying him what he's going to be paid. I don't want to be giving up too much in the process.
Okay,
also.
problem is, though, Andrew, is you're going to have to include one of those guys that are in that $5 to $6 million range, and there's literally 2 players in the roster that make that up. Or, sorry, 3. Bruce Brown. Sorry, 4. Bruce Brown, Sekou Doumbouya, Luke
I'd rather
Kennard.
go Bruce Brown than Kennard.
I'd have to verify that he actually does work because he's on the lower end of that. Or here's one other one, and this one could actually make some sense: Langston Galloway and his $7 million contract. You could look at that, but then you're opening up another situation where who the hell do you have play wing at that point, and you have no money left because you're already paying luxury tax.
Started experimenting with putting Markieff at the 3, even though he's never played the 3.
Oh no, he played the 3, and he's played the 3. It was
Marcus has played the 3.
No, Markieff played the 3. I actually saw stats of him playing the 3. It was abysmal.
Oh, okay.
It was abysmal. Like you do not want Markieff Morris playing the 3. I'll tell you that right now. It is not pretty. Now, I do think that if you were to, so I'm just going, I'm opening up ESPN Trade Machine.
I already got it, bro.
Purely to make contracts work.
That does work.
With Langston?
Yeah.
Yes. Nope.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Sorry. I didn't include Russell Westbrook.
That's important.
Yes, that one works. Now, take out Langston, throw in Bruce Brown here. Let's see what happens. Jeez, he's far down the list. Ooh, I don't know that Bruce is going to work. Bruce does work. Okay. So you can go anywhere from Bruce Brown to Sekou Doumbouya to Luke Kennard to Langston Galloway. Frankly, if I'm the Thunder, I don't want... Actually, I'll take all of them, with Langston Galloway being lowest on my threshold because he's just nothing more than an expiring deal. And then on top of that, you're going to have to include 3 first-round picks because it's Russell Westbrook. I know the contract's bad, but if Paul George calls for 5, you got to imagine Brody at least calls for 3. Unless you're including Luke Kennard in this deal. Then it's 2. Then I think it's 2. Or Sekou Doumbouya, because those are 2 effective first-round picks in my mind.
I mean, I do think the Clippers kind of overpaid draft capital for Paul George.
I do too, but in today's NBA, but again though, in today's NBA, does it matter?
Like AD, like got, how many picks did the Lakers get for AD? I'm trying to remember.
4,
Was it 4?
I believe. Yeah, 4. I think it was 4. But again though,
Was it 3? Was it 4 or 3 in a swap?
It was 4 and a swap. It was 4 and a swap. I'm pretty sure. Might have been 3 and a swap, but I'm pretty sure it was 4 and a swap. And this one is 5 and a couple swaps. In today's NBA, though, just looking at what this year is going to be, does future draft capital matter? Because that's kind of what the bulk of this conversation is going to be, is what are you willing to leverage here to have a window of about 3 years to go for it? Because that's when you'll have Russell Westbrook and Blake Griffin. Frankly, I'd say about 2 years. Because Blake Griffin's body's going to start turning around. And so is Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, then that's the other thing that worries me about Russell Westbrook with that contract is you talk about a guy who predicates his whole ability on his athleticism, his whole effectiveness.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and until he learns to shoot the ball, I don't have much hope in him reinventing his game once his body starts feeling him a couple years on.
I don't disagree. But again,
start paying him $48 million.
I also think in the situation with the Pistons, I don't think they're well-rounded enough to make this work. Again, you're going to have Svi Mikhailuk or 18-year-old Sekou Doumbouya playing your starting 3, which no thank you on either of those. No thank you. Svi Mikhailuk couldn't even make the fucking roster last year. Jesus, sorry.
Every time.
I know.
Have to have one.
He couldn't even make the lineup
movie.
last year.
Look, a
Seriously.
PG-13 movie.
We really
get
are.
one F-bomb and
We really are.
you drop in a nice juicy spot every time.
He couldn't even crack the lineup last year. What makes you think he's capable of starting 82 games next year? I don't think so.
No, I agree.
Sekou Doumbouya could hardly garner real minutes overseas this past year. What makes you think he's going to be playing
He's way too raw.
meaningful minutes?
He's way too raw. Only way he plays meaningful minutes if he comes on is like a defensive monster. But he's way too raw.
You don't have a wing at that point. And then we're right back to where we were last year where we have nobody to play defense on the wing. So our defense will only get worse. Because I'll tell you right now, Russell Westbrook's not a good defender. I actually think he's worse than Reggie Jackson defensively, and that's saying a lot.
I've seen him be a good defender. Particularly, there was one time when Steve Blake stole the ball from the backcourt, and then Russell Westbrook got really mad and just like D'd him up like crazy and forced a turnover.
Yeah, you ain't getting that level of effort defensively from Russell Westbrook for 40 minutes a game.
Steve Blake on the opposite team. That's what you need.
True.
The hardest I've ever seen Russell Westbrook guard someone was Steve Blake. I don't know if that's saying anything. But
I mean, if I was Russell Westbrook and Steve Blake stole the ball from me, I'd probably do the same.
I could get punked by Steve Blake.
Yeah, that'd be embarrassing. I just wish Steve Blake came down and hit a 3 in his face.
That would have been hilarious.
That would have been the best Steve Blake moment in his life.
Oh, man. That would have been so funny.
Oh, man. But anyways.
So what's your opinion on this, though? Do you think the time is now for the Pistons to make a move?
Yes, I do. I do. But I don't think Russell Westbrook's your answer. Mm-hmm. If I'm the Pistons, I'm getting on the phone right now, and I'm calling Masai Ujiri over in Toronto and saying, what you want for Kyle Lowry?
You know what I was about to throw out?
Who?
I'm inquiring about the availability of D'Angelo Russell.
That too. Screw it.
Warriors might want more draft capital. I will say that.
Yes, the Warriors will want draft capital, and that will be expensive.
Yeah.
Yes, I think Kyle Lowry will be a little bit less expensive.
I do think D'Angelo Russell is a better fit than Russell Westbrook. Not saying he's a better player, I'm saying he's a better fit.
Than Russell Westbrook, yeah. But honestly, in terms of what is going to be a little bit more fair value and not having to overpay, I'm looking at Kyle Lowry because the Raptors may be in a situation where they want to get a little bit younger.
Maybe.
And that way you can include a Bruce Brown and maybe a first or two to get Kyle Lowry. And obviously you make the money work, so you include Reggie Jackson in there. And then bada boom, bada bing, you got a legitimate all-star point guard at the one to pair with Andre Drummond and Blake Griffin. I think that's the route you can go because they may want to get a bit younger because they weren't willing to give up Siakam. They weren't willing to give up Van Vliet, two very young guys. So let's play ball here. Let's give them a young guy. Let's give them some draft capital. Let's help them out. But help us in return. We're winning now.
Raptors just got Stanley Johnson. They don't need anyone else.
Oh, God. Did they really? Yeah. Who the hell's paying that guy money? Is it Monopoly money?
You know how I found out? A
How?
Raptors fan went on to Pistons Reddit and asked about Stanley Johnson, is he any good? This is right. It was a collective
Let me guess.
groan.
No. I'm actually curious. What would it take money wise for us to grab a guy like Kyle Lowry? See, I'm beyond
Welcome to the Fan Report ESPN Trade Machine show.
For real. Okay, so his contract's about $35 million, and it's an expiring deal. So, let's play some ball.
So it's like a 1-year rental, basically.
Yeah, 1-year rental.
But you lose Reggie after this year anyways.
And I'm throwing Langston in there. Mm-hmm. I'll throw in...
And I'm not interested in signing Kyle Lowry after this year anyways.
No, he's like 30-something years old. Why would you be?
He's 33 this year. He'll be 34 by the start of next season.
Right. Why would you be? Yikes. So this may not go the route I want it to, but I may have to do this. Let's see. Nope, still doesn't work.
Well, you're still giving up Snell, Galloway, and Reggie, right?
Yeah, you're still having to give up Snell, Galloway, and Reggie, which doesn't really Snell, Galloway, and Reggie. And I think at that point you're giving up one first-round pick. Would you do that? Reggie, Snell, Galloway, and a first for Kyle Lowry. Knowing you got the $35 million off the books either way.
Can we get Stanley back? I'm kidding.
No! They'd probably want us to.
Honestly, if you let's say you threw them a guy like a Luke Kennard, but got an OG Anunoby back.
I don't think they give up OG Anunoby. And honestly, you'd still have to. So throw in Luke Kennard. You try to bring. That's Siakam. That's not
because that'll give you your wing.
That will give you your wing. That does give you your wing. Let's see if that works. That does work. So if you throw Reggie, Snell, Galloway, and Luke for Lowry and Anunoby. Throw in a first, you do get your wing back, and you get your point guard to win now.
You really need some shooters at that point, though. Jesus Christ!
Oh yeah.
That's tough. That's a lot to give up for a 1-year rental on Lowry and then Anunoby. It's a lot to give up.
It's
and again, you're losing
Reggie. You're losing Galloway.
Jackson's gone for this year, anyways.
So is Galloway. Luke Kennard's got options for the next two. After this year, he's got one more team option.
It definitely helps that Lowry's contract is an expiring deal, but maybe there's got to. Would we be below the minimum players that you can feel on the roster by that point?
We might be. All I'm saying is I do think the Pistons are in
it just scares me.
I do think the Pistons are in a situation where you look at it and go, all right, This is our opportunity to try to win. And I think it does actually, and where you said you think it's not just this year, I'm going to disagree. I do think this is the best year for them to do it.
Well, because you have KD coming back to Brooklyn.
Look, you do have Clay going back to the Warriors, which gives them three superstars again. And I trust Clay's knee a hell of a lot more than I trust KD's Achilles.
It'd still be two because
Draymond, and Clay.
Draymond.
And who knows what happens with what they get back for D'Angelo.
Yeah.
So you may end up having four superstars there. Who knows?
But do you think the Pistons are one big splash away from being a championship contender? Do you think they can make it with one big splash?
I think they are one big splash away from being a team that can compete to getting to the Eastern Conference Finals and maybe coming out of it. I don't think there's one team in the East that in terms come playoff time is far and away better than everybody else. I think if you put yourself into that top four mix, I think you were a legitimate contender in the East to at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals in anybody's ball game at that point. Do I still think there are teams better than you at that point? Yes. I still think the Sixers and the Bucks are better than you. But the Bucks did lose some depth this offseason. The Sixers still lost some shooting that they never replaced this offseason.
They did get Horford, right?
Yeah, but they lost shooting.
Lost Redick and Butler.
They lost Redick and Butler. They lost shooting and some defense. They upgraded up top, allowing Horford to go back to his natural four that he played in Atlanta. But both teams did lose something very important.
Yeah.
So you could argue that you could play them in a 7-game series, and if you get hot, you win. But you absolutely have to make that move to make it happen. But I think the window closes the year after once Brooklyn comes into play. Once Boston's still in play, once Philly's still in play, once Indiana probably is further into play because they have a ton of cap space and they have a ton of possibilities with Oladipo getting better and older. Golden State's back. The Clippers are still there. The Lakers are still there. I do think this year the window is the widest open.
I agree. I agree this is the widest open.
And that's why I'm saying...
I don't think it closes immediately.
I don't necessarily think it closes. I think it shuts quite a bit, though. No. Like, quite a bit. I think you could take your opportunity and deduct it by about 50% from this turnover from this year to next. So if I'm the Pistons and I really do want to win now, which honestly, at this point, why not? Yes, I'm doing this. I'm going after...
They're having a discussion about win now mode for the Pistons.
It's going to take a massive trade for it to happen.
Yeah, but it's a weird discussion.
But I do think this is a situation where I'm looking at it going, hey, this may be our best opportunity. Because who knows what the future is going to look like in the NBA.
Yeah.
This is a weird year in the NBA. In the weird years of where you get the weird winners. So let's do something. Let's take advantage of a weird year in the NBA where the best teams have 2 stars, not 3 or 4. Let's be one of those teams that has 2 stars. Let's be one of them. And honestly, if we had 2 stars and Andre Drummond's our third guy, I like our chances. Okay? I like our chances there.
I like Andre Drummond a lot better as our third guy than
oh, hell yeah.
than someone who we're relying on for a main source of offense.
Oh, hell yeah. I like our chances a hell of a lot better that way. Granted, but then you got to wonder if he gets angry because he's not getting the ball as much. But that's beside the point. That's an issue you come around when you get to it. If you get to it.
And I think actually good point guard play benefits Drummond. So I do think you see an improved Drummond no matter what if you move Reggie for a better point guard.
I agree. I think this was one of Reggie Jackson's best seasons, and I think Andre Drummond was improved this year. I think in a situation, maybe Kyle Lowry's not the answer. Maybe not.
And the only other point guard that's even rumored to be anywhere in the trade market that I know of is D'Angelo Russell.
I don't think he's available on the market this year. I think that's strictly a next year thing because I think they're going to play D'Lo at the 2 to fill in for Clay.
Smart.
It would be. And he's just going to fill in for Clay this year, and then they'll trade him next year when Clay gets back because then they won't have a need for him.
Or at least not until the trade deadline.
Right. Because then you'll have a better update on Clay's situation, where you're at in the standings, what your possibilities are, what other teams are willing to offer. I just think now is a really good opportunity. I think there are other teams out there with a point guard or with a wing that you can say, hey, you could say, hey, let's go get them. We've got things we can give up.
I think a 23-year-old D'Angelo Russell may be the most expensive of the 3.
Between Russell Westbrook and
Kyle Lowry?
Well, yeah, because the contract's not as abysmal. Wait, what is D'Lo's contract? Isn't it pretty big?
I actually don't know. That's a great question.
I thought it was pretty big. It's
about $30 million a year.
It's about $30 million a year, so it is pretty big. It's a max deal.
But you
can't trade
considerable age
You
difference,
actually can't trade D'Lo right now.
You talk about a considerable age difference,
right? But you can't trade D'Lo right now because he's got that. He's got that hold off on the. He's got that thing where you can't trade him for a certain period of time. So
the thing where you can't trade him.
The earliest you could probably get him was probably the deadline.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, he's got that free agent exception where when a free agent signs a contract or player signing a two-way contract, he can't be traded until December 15th or 3 months, whichever is later. So, there you go. Now,
yeah, those are the three big splashes that the Pistons could potentially make. I mean, I don't know of any other ones.
Not really. I mean,
what are the advantages of waiting it out, letting Reggie Jackson contract expire, letting Blake Griffin's and Andre Drummond's contract dwindle down to become more attractive trade pieces
in Detroit?
Well, they can't see what you're
in Detroit. Zero.
Yeah,
because honestly, you're not. That money's useless. It's the Detroit Pistons. We're not talking Miami or LA.
You have to do your damage in the trade market.
You have to do your damage in the trade market.
But I'm saying it becomes more attractive.
So Reggie's...
for example, a contract like Blake's becomes more attractive.
But Reggie's contract does you no good after this year.
True. That's very true.
So you have to move him now.
Yeah,
Langston's contract does you no good after this year.
Do not disagree.
Cap space is all nice and fine and dandy. Yeah. However, you aren't getting anybody with that cap space. It sucks, but it's a fact. This is Detroit. This is not Miami. This is not LA. This is not New York. This is not Chicago. And frankly, nobody wants to play in Chicago right now. If nobody wants to play in Chicago, why the hell would anybody want to play here?
Now, you make a big splash. You start winning basketball games. You may be able to attract someone, but
I'm still going to disagree. I still don't think you're getting anybody.
Really?
The 04 team didn't. They didn't get any big free agents. They got guys who were journeymen. Guys who were tossed around the league. Chauncey, tossed around the league. Ben was a trade. Rashid was a trade. Rip was a trade. Tayshaun was a draft. What star did they sign? Nobody. Antonio McDyess coming off a knee injury. What star did they sign? Nobody. They won a championship and still couldn't bring in a star. Yeah. Josh Smith was an exile, and he came off a huge knee injury. Yeah. Detroit's just not a free agent destination.
No, I know. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Winning doesn't change that either. It makes it a little bit more attractive. Might cause a guy like DeMarcus Cousins to be willing to take a bigger chance here.
I had this exact discussion with one of our buddies, and I was saying, as soon as I see a team like Milwaukee make a big free agent splash, then I'll say, yeah, we can win games and get someone.
Yeah.
But until then, I'm
going to say Milwaukee's different. Reason being, Milwaukee,
it's a very small market.
What?
That's a very small market.
It is. Milwaukee. But Milwaukee has one thing that Detroit does not: the opportunity to play with one of the best players in the world. Detroit does not have that opportunity for a player.
What, Drummond's not one of the best players in the world?
No. Detroit can't give you that.
Yeah.
So Milwaukee, I would say, is more attracted to play than here because of that opportunity, because of the opportunity to play alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo. Nobody's lining up to play alongside Blake Griffin right now. I'm sorry. No big name is lining up to play alongside Blake Griffin right now. Very good player. I love him. Awesome guy to have here in Detroit. He's my favorite player in Detroit since the Going to Work crew. It's not like superstars are lining up to play alongside him.
But I'm saying, that's what I was saying. If you're able to move Reggie for a big name, you might eventually be able to get to a spot where you're attracting free agents just based off your winning and your names.
But again, what star are you getting with Reggie Jackson?
Oh, I mean, again, like you.
People don't want to play. Let me throw this out there.
Let's be honest. I don't think people want to play Russell Westbrook.
No.
D'Lo's a rising star. He could get there.
I don't think people are going to be lining up to play alongside D'Angelo Russell, though. I don't think people ever will, because he's never going to reach Giannis levels. He's never going to reach LeBron levels. He's never going to reach those levels to make people want, I need to play alongside that guy. You have to be one of the top 3 players in the game to do that. You have to be a Steph Curry, a LeBron, a Giannis, a Kevin Durant, and Anthony Davis. And frankly, there's not even that many people who are lining up to play with Anthony Davis.
Let's rephrase. What if a team like Indiana sign a big name free agent? They're in a big market. Their biggest attraction is Oladipo.
They have to overpay.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah, they do. And frankly, who's the last big free agent signing they made? And don't give me Oladipo. He wasn't that good.
Well, that was a trade.
True. But even if it was a free agent signing, he wasn't that good before he came there.
He was really good with Orlando, then he dropped off with OKC.
He was solid with Orlando. He wasn't star level or even close.
I still remember with Oladipo when he was in Indiana. I used to love him in Indiana, but when he was in Indiana, Dickie Vitale was calling a game and said that Oladipo was be the next Michael Jordan.
Well, that shows you how senile Dick Vitale's gotten. All I'm saying is, I do think there's a legitimate chance for the Pistons to make something happen right now. Mm-hmm. Like, right now. Go for it. And this is you probably won't hear me say something along this line for a long time. Mm-hmm. Because if they don't do it now, I think their window's closed. Mm-hmm. Because the reason they're in kind of a sweet spot in terms of expiring deals and other things with the way that with the parity of the NBA, that just works so perfectly for them to go for it. Yeah. Because again, after the season, what's Reggie Jackson contract worth to you? Nothing. Yeah.
And you guys might be saying, "Hey, you guys were harping on the Conley deal. You guys did not want Conley here." The landscape was very different in the NBA just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
If you offer Mike Conley now, I might be more inclined.
We thought that Kawhi could end up going to the Lakers and building a super team there. Would I want the Pistons to go for it in that league? No. Mm-hmm. We thought Kawhi could stay in Toronto, where you then have 5 teams that are better than you in the East. Would I want Conley in that situation? No. Mm-hmm. We're talking about 4 teams that, frankly, only 1 or 2 of them would be better than you. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I don't think Conley's the answer.
Mm-hmm. I'm saying I would have been.
And then you ask me, right? But I don't think Conley's the answer. I'm not that high on Mike Conley anymore. Mm-hmm. He's not as good of a player as he used to be. Mm-hmm. He had that Achilles issue, the bother. It wasn't a rupture, but it was a bother. It was a bunch of issues with his Achilles that he ended up. It was tendonitis, if I recall. Mm-hmm. He ended up having surgery to help fix. It wasn't a rupture. It wasn't a tear. But he's still not as good of a player as he used to be. Yeah. His contract is bad, and he's old. Then you can ask me, but what about Kyle Lowry? He's old. He's on a bad contract. 1, he's expiring. 2, call me crazy, I value Kyle Lowry a little bit more than Mike Conley as a player. He just brings more to the table that Mike Conley doesn't. Does that make sense, or am I just flat out wrong with that?
No, you're right.
I think he would fit with this team a little bit better. That's all. Than Mike Conley would, because Mike Conley's a score-first guy. Mm-hmm. Kyle Lowry's more of a pass-first guy. Mm-hmm. When you're playing with Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, who, again, we've mentioned Drummond excels, plays much better with a good point guard play that can spread the ball, Lowry's going to be more inclined to do that than Mike Conley. Mm-hmm. He fits better. Yeah. And it's an expiring deal. And, yes, I know he is still hurt decent amount, but so was Conley. Mm-hmm. So I like Lowry's situation a little bit better. You mentioned D'Angelo Russell. Well, look at the youth. That's where you stop that argument. But that's the kind of guy I'm going for, is a guy who's able to spread the ball around a little bit, score 15 to 20 points a game, and is a bona fide close to star point guard. Mm-hmm. Close to. Not there. Like, Kemba would have been a great example. Kemba would have been fun. Mm-hmm. But too late for that. Oh, I got a fun one. I got a fun one, Andrew. This one, I just want to know your reaction on this.
Close out the show. Let's do it.
I want to know your reaction on this.
Okay.
Here's a name that's been thrown around as being available.
I saw like a little sparkle after you said Kemba. I'm like, what is he thinking right now?
Here's a name that's been thrown around as being available.
Yeah.
In today's climate of the NBA, with the situation you have now, with your salary situation the way it is, and with your opportunity to win now being right now if you make a trade. Chris Paul. Yes or no? He'd probably be the cheapest of them.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think back when the last time Chris Paul played like 60 games was.
You can say the same about a lot of point guards
I know.
in the league.
How many years left on his deal?
2 or 3? Hang on. 2 and an option.
Player option or team option?
Really? Don't even ask that. What player signs for a team option that is
what star
anything?
Player signs a team
option? What mid-level player and better signs a team option?
Chris Paul. So you probably have to give up Reggie. Probably have to go somewhere on the same package.
You might not have to include a first-round pick with it, though.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it
might just do a pick swap.
It at least lines up with your other expirings.
It does.
So, yeah, maybe.
I'd do it.
I wouldn't mind that.
I'd do it. I'll tell you the last time he's played 60 games.
It was back in 1984.
Oh, I mean, he played 58 the last 2 seasons. He played 61 in 16-17, played 74 the year before that.
Okay.
So it wasn't
Well, 3
that
years ago.
bad. Wasn't, I mean, 58 past 2 seasons isn't that bad. But that's kind of the perfect example of the player that I was talking
Hopefully
about.
the games he misses, Derrick Rose is healthy.
Yeah. But that's exactly the kind of player I was telling you, that I was mentioning.
Yeah.
Guy who can score between 15 and 20 a game, who's going to spread the ball around, be a good passer, and lead your offense. The only one caveat with Chris Paul is he's a locker room problem, and Blake Griffin may not want to play with him.
Did him and Blake Griffin get along in L.A., though?
Not towards the end. Like, there was a pretty known rift towards the end, if I recall. But you'd have your own Lob City.
Yeah, you would have your own Lob City. Bring it back to the Clippers. You'd have the Clippers again, is what you'd have.
You would.
And Luke Kennard, JJ.
But however, it would make a little more sense to have them now than then. A Lob City, that Clippers. If you put that Clippers team in today's NBA, they're title contenders.
Well, they were title contenders Lob City. They just couldn't get done in the playoffs.
Right,
consistent
but
with the
also
best teams
you
during the
had a situation where you had super teams in the league.
Yeah.
I would argue that team is a top
That
3
team
team
was
in the
at
Eastern
its peak
Conference.
during the Heat years, if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
You don't have a super team now. That team is as close to a super team as you may have.
Yeah.
Outside of like the Lakers and the Clippers.
Anything else to add before we close this out?
Do the Pistons trade for Russell Westbrook?
Well, my question to you was going to be,
Do the Pistons trade for
my
Russell
question
Westbrook?
is, is Ray Jice on the team by the time we do another podcast? But you think so?
Yes.
Yeah, I do think that the Heat are probably going to have the edge. I don't know how, but just it's
Because Russell Westbrook can
it's-
force his hand as well.
I'm saying it's just the fact that Russell Westbrook wants to go there. I feel like somehow, somewhere, it's going to work. So I'm leaning no.
Could you imagine Jimmy Butler and Russell Westbrook playing together?
That wouldn't look good.
I think for soap operas of the NBA, that would be amazing. Could you imagine
wouldn't look
Jimmy
good.
Butler
It wouldn't be-
screaming at Russell Westbrook
It
in
wouldn't be a good
practice?
look.
Oh,
Would
that
not
would be a
be a good
great
look.
look. You kidding me? Oh my God, it'd be must see TV. I want Hard Knocks there now.
All right. Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to yet another episode of the Fan Report. Give us your thoughts on what you think the Pistons should do this offseason now that looks like the free agent signings are done and time is ripe for a trade splash.
I think that's probably true with a lot of teams in the league.
Check
Especially
us
right
out every Monday and Thursday on twitch.tv/thefanreport. We go live 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yes, we actually will be going live here in a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Follow us on a Real Fan Report on Twitter. Any your spots? I think
That's pretty much
that's all
it.
the plugs.
Check out the other podcasts on Detroit Sports Podcast.
Yeah.
Detroit Podcast is where you can find them on Twitter. Get all your links there.
And if you're doing the bottle cap challenge, be safe. Don't break an ankle.
Or anything. How's that? Anything. Just don't hurt yourself and don't hurt your family. Don't hurt your pets. Don't hurt your belongings. Just be safe, people. Don't pull a hammy. But anyways, though, guys, thank you so much again for listening, and we will catch you next week. This has been the Fan Reporters. Bye, fans.
For fans.
Thank you guys again. Have a good one.
In the words of the legendary Jim Carrey, new to your pets.
What?
Could have just ended.